Ustun is the Executive Director at the SETA Foundation at Washington, D.C., and he joins us live now from the US Capitol. Thanks so much for being with us, Kadir. So we're hearing there from Noor in Aleppo at the latest developments. Things are moving quite quickly, but it seems as if the majority of Ashrafiyah has come under government control. It's now looking to shift its focus to the Sheikh Masud neighbourhood. Do you think it's likely that the SDF will continue to keep fighting?
They've done this on and off for a long time. They would pull back and they would also resist. They would try to control areas as long as they can. They have an agreement with this new central government. It's called a March Agreement, where they were supposed to integrate into the new Syrian state, but they have stalled and they have now put forward some additional conditions, and clearly they don't want to fully integrate into the Syrian state. They would like to protect their autonomous state, and they, I think, bank on the support of the United States. And even if Trump administration wants to get out of Syria, leave behind some sort of orderly situation, I think as long as the US continues to support this group, they would like to leverage that support to retain whatever autonomy they would like to have in northeastern Syria. But of course, if the new emerging Syrian government is going to consolidate its control throughout the country, that cannot be accepted. So, and I think regional powers, well, some of them, like Turkey, insist on a unified Syria with its territorial integrity intact. And so even though YPG forces continue to support and assert control in northeastern Syria, that's not going to be sustainable.
So you mentioned the March 10 agreement, which of course, as you say, was meant to reintegrate SDF institutions into the Syrian state. I mean, we've seen 3 days now of intense fighting. What do you think it will take for these clashes to end and to return to renewed negotiations? Is it your view that the Americans need to maybe pull their support from the SDF to remove that leverage that the group has?
Well, of course, Turkey has been pressuring the United States to reconsider this support, and it has a lot to do with how YPG sees itself and how it sees its future. However, even if the United States stops its support for the YPG, I think they would try to get support from other regional countries. Of course, there's a new process inside Turkey between, there have been negotiations to find a political solution. They must recognize, they have to ultimately recognize that they will have to come back to the negotiating table and find a political solution. Otherwise, there will be some sort of conflict, internal conflict in Syria that could have regional implications. We are talking about, thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of fighters that are not integrated into the Syrian state. Of course, we must point out, we must accept that, the Syrian government, the new Syrian government, is not a full-fledged state yet. But this state that is emerging needs to have some sort of centralized security system. Otherwise, if you have a broken apart sort of country with several various regions being controlled by different groups, different ethnic groups, different religious groups, we will continue to have serious security threats and problems emanating from Syria.
Certainly.
For its neighbors. So they do have to come back to the table and negotiate a political solution. They need to integrate with the Syrian central state.
Kadir, what do you think a realistic compromise would look like for the SDF inside a post-war Syrian state?
Well, I think the military and the political tracks have to be separated, obviously. There wouldn't be, I don't think the Syrian central state can tolerate thousands of, armed units in northern Syria, northeastern Syria to control the area. But if they integrate into the state system, then the local administrative unit structures could include and must include actually Kurdish leaders, and Kurdish citizens' rights have to be represented just like any other Syrian citizens' rights. They would have to be addressed. They would they should be involved in running their own country. This is their own country, Syrian Kurds I'm talking about. So, but if they, if this group runs around and asserts itself as the sole representative of the Syrian Kurdish people and sort of establish control over Arab majority areas in the north, this will be a problem. I don't think unified territorial integrity of Syria is going to be crucially important, unless, of course, Syrian government decides that it's going to go for some sort of, federal system or semi-federal system, whatever they want to do. That has to be part of a political compromise that will probably take months and years to emerge. It's not going to be easy. But if you want to insist on your armed sort of group retaining its control and not coming under the sort of rule control of a central government, then of course that will be a big problem.
Kadir Ustun, Executive Director of the SETA Foundation of Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for your analysis.
Thank you.